first and last name, since you're not Robert Nielsen. I'm pretty sure you're not.
That's right. So my name is Robert Kelly. I'm here instead of Professor Robert Nielsen.
And can you give us a background on yourself?
Sure, of course. So I'm here as the General Counsel for Convention of States Action. I am a registered lobbyist in the state, just to get all those fun legal disclaimers out of the way up front. We are a nationwide grassroots nonprofit organization with over 3 million supporters across this country, many of whom call the great state of Colorado their home, and of course many of them you see here behind you. We're here to advocate on behalf of the Article 5 Convention of States, and this is a movement that is growing and has only continued to expand as things have continued to get more and more out of control in Washington, D.C. The simple reality is the American people do not believe that the politicians in Washington, D.C. represent their interests. They don't believe that they can be heard, and they don't believe, for the most part, that they can make a difference. And Article 5 provides them an opportunity to make that difference through their state legislatures. And so that's why you see all these people here behind me. That's why they're sacrificing their day today to come out here before you. And that's what I'm here to speak about, is this Article 5 Convention of States. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and start out with the text of Article 5, since that itself answers a lot of questions. And as good students of the Constitution, and as good attorneys in my case, and legislators, it's helpful to actually look at the text of what we're going to be considering. And you'll see there, Article 5 deals with the amendment process in the Constitution. It says, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which, in either case, shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress. So you see in there are two different ways that amendments may be proposed to our Constitution. There's the way we all learn in high school civics, which is that Congress, by a 2/3 vote, may propose amendments to the Constitution, and then those amendments have to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. But there's also a second process by which amendments may be obtained to our Constitution, and that is by the states themselves through a convention. All 27 amendments to our Constitution have gone through the congressional process, but our founders believed it was critically important to provide the states an opportunity to amend the document, because they believed that it was quite possible that the federal government could become the problem. And the core genius, the core animating idea of our Constitution is the idea of checks and balances, that no person, no body within our government should be the final arbiter of their own power. And hence, we have 3 branches of government. We have a president, we have a Congress, and we have a Supreme Court. But we also have a division of power between the states and the federal government. And if you were to ask the founders back in 1776 and 1787, which of those divisions was more important, they would have told you that division between the federal government and the state governments was the more important of the two divisions to secure the freedoms of the people. And it's that idea, it's the idea of checks and balances. It's the idea of ambition counteracting ambition, to use the words of James Madison, that is the animating principle of our system of government. A lot of people like to look to the Bill of Rights. A lot of people like to parade, for example, the 10th Amendment around when talking about the ability of the states to push back against the federal government. But the 10th Amendment is what James Madison called a parchment barrier. It is a great aspirational statement, but let's face it, every two-bit dictator today has a Bill of Rights that lays out in great detail the rights of the citizens of their country. You can look at Venezuela, which has a constitution that's over 50 pages long and enumerates hundreds of rights, including the right to self-definition, which I honestly have no clue what that actually means or what that is, but they have that right. But as the people of Venezuela, how it's working out for them, and you'll see a reality that's quite different. So structure of government matters. Checks and balances matter, and that's why the Constitution, according to James Madison, did not originally include a Bill of Rights. And so the 10th Amendment, what is so often pointed to as a bastion of federalism, is only good insofar as the states are going to use the procedural mechanisms that are offered to them in our Constitution to actually exercise a check on the federal government. And so if we look at the structure of our Constitution, we see that there are numerous checks and balances integrated into the system. The two primary ones that are designed to protect the states are the states were given the ability to elect senators to the U.S. Congress. They effectively controlled that body because it was the state bodies, the state representatives, that actually elected the senators. That was abolished with the 17. Now, the other check that was provided is the one that's in Article 5 of our Constitution. That gives the states the ability to propose amendments to limit the power of the federal government. That has never been carried through to completion. And so effectively, for the last 100 years, the states have exercised no substantive procedural check on the power of the federal government. And you don't need to be a student of our history to know what happens when you leave a body unchecked with power. In the famous words of Lord Acton, absolute power corrupts, or power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And we see that play out in our federal government. That's why the federal government is dysfunctional, because it was never designed to stand on its own, representing the people alone without a meaningful check on its power. And that's why we propose that the states use the actual procedural check they're given in Article 5 to step up to the plate and actually show a willingness to push back against the federal government. It's important to note the way we got the text of Article 5 in our Constitution. The original draft of our Constitution just simply said that we should get amendments whenever the states wanted it. Then as that went through the drafting processes in the committees of detail at the Constitutional Convention of 1787, that was actually replaced by a provision that gave Congress the ability to propose amendments to our Constitution. And then just 3 days before, as the founders were wrapping up the final review of the document, they realized that this provision, the amendment provision, had been changed from what they originally intended. And George Mason, often known as the father of the Bill of Rights, stood up before that group of men and told them that there was no way they could vote for a constitution which only gave the amendment power to Congress, because Congress could very well become the problem. And he essentially asked everyone in that body, everyone in that room, whether they were so naive to believe that if you only gave Congress power to propose amendments, you would see anything but an expansion of congressional power as time went on. And the founders realized that. They were students of human nature. They recognized the importance of checks and balances, and so they unanimously proposed to add in a second provision, which gives the states the ability to propose amendments to our Constitution. So let's return to the actual text of Article 5. This answers a lot of questions. There's a lot of objections about, well, how would a convention work? Could a convention run away? A number of questions related to that. A lot of that is answered by the actual text that our founders gave us. So you'll notice the text says, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, Congress shall call a convention for proposing amendments. So there's no question as to whether Congress has any authority to stop this convention, whether Congress has any authority to exercise control over this convention. It has a ministerial duty to call this convention once the states have applied. And of course that fits exactly within the structure of the Constitution. Congress is given a method to propose amendments. The states are given a method to propose amendments. The states control their method of proposing amendments. Congress controls its method of proposing amendments. It's also worth noting that the power that is given to a convention is exactly the power that Congress has at all times to propose amendments. So there should be no fear that this body, this convention, is somehow going to run away and do something crazy. It has exactly the same power that Congress has at any time to propose amendments. And that's critical. The text tells us that the power the convention has is to propose amendments. That is to say, if a convention were to do something radical, if a convention were to propose some amendments that were completely out of line or completely not what the states had called it to do, those amendments are still just proposals. What Article 5 establishes is a drafting committee. When you consider legislation for an Article 5 Convention of States, what you are considering is the appointment of a drafting committee. That body does not have any power to actually make law. It can only draft proposals that, just like the proposals from Congress, have to go back and be ratified by 3/4 of the several states. So the idea that a runaway convention is a serious threat simply ignores the text of Article 5. Justice Scalia actually recognized that. He said there's no legitimate fear that an Article 5 convention would ever run away. There's just no serious risk of that taking place because you have to have 3/4 of the states ratify any proposed amendments. It's also important to note the power that the convention is given. And that is that the convention has the power to propose amendments which shall be bound to all intents and purposes as part of its constitution. That is to say, once the amendments are ratified, They become just as much a part of the Constitution as any other provision of the Constitution. Oftentimes it's objected that a convention is somehow going to act extra-constitutionally, that it's somehow going to exercise plenipotentiary powers, that it's somehow going to run amok and supposedly like a constitutional convention is going to rewrite our entire system of government willy-nilly, change the ratification process and do all that internally. And it's important to note that Article 5 convention is called under the text of Article 5. It has the power to propose amendments, not to rewrite the document, not to step outside the boundaries that have been set by Article 5. And that's critically important. And James Madison actually pointed this out in a letter to one of his friends, Edward Everett, in 1800, where he pointed out there's two different ways the states can act. The states, as the constituent sovereigns of this country, can call on their residual sovereign authority to dissolve our system of government. But separate and distinct from that, and James Madison expressed his strong opposition to ever doing that, separate and distinct from that, he pointed out that there's amendments that can be proposed through the forms of the Constitution, to use his terminology. And that is a separate and distinct power of the states. And when the states invoke Article 5, they are invoking that power, not some residual sovereign authority. They're not calling it a constitutional convention. Opponents of this process often like to call it that, they like to call it a constitutional convention. They like to pretend that it can run amok. It cannot. It is called under the text of Article 5, and it is bound by that text in our Constitution. So those are critical limitations that are in the text of the document itself. We also learn a lot from looking at the history of practice when it comes to exercising an Article 5 convention. Part of the reason Article 5 is such a short article in our Constitution is because the founders were very familiar with the amending process, and especially with the process of calling conventions. There were over 11 conventions, multi-state conventions held by the states in the decade between 1776 and 1787 with the adoption of the Constitution. That's more than 1 year. That's more often than they held elections. This was a very common process that they understood. And if you look back, as Professor Nielsen has done in his extensive research on that, we find that the procedures that were followed at these conventions are surprisingly uniform across the board. The states called the convention, the states established rules for that convention, they issued instructions to their delegates, the states always had one vote at that convention, and when they met together, those bodies were given power either to propose or to make law. And that was clearly laid out in the document that was called a convention. Here in the text of Article 5, it's clear that what's being done is proposing amendments. And it's important that we be able to look at this history because history informs the interpretation of legal texts. A great example of this is to think in the criminal law context. We all have a right to be innocent until proven guilty. That is a right that we have as American citizens under our Constitution. But you will nowhere see the text, innocent until proven guilty, in our Constitution. It does not appear there. What instead we have is a guarantee of due process of law under the 5th and 14th Amendments and the right to a speedy and fair trial under the 6th Amendment. We know what a speedy and fair trial is. We know what due process of law is because there were thousands of jury trials that the founders held at the time when that amendment was adopted. And that history informs us and tells us that in criminal context, the government has the burden of proving the case against you. You are innocent until proven guilty. You have to be convicted by a unanimous jury. That jury has to be drawn from among your peers. It has to be a fair trial. All of that is informed by the history, and it's no different with Article 5 of our Constitution. If you actually, as Professor Nielsen has done, do the homework, we can understand how this process works, we can see the procedures that would be used in this. It's not some vague, ambiguous provision that's in our Constitution. A lot of opponents of this process would have you believe that this is just a giant constitutional reset button, which just, frankly, is undervaluing the wisdom of our founders. They pledged their lives, their honors, and their fortunes to establish this country. They were traitors in order to create this Constitution. They would not simply create a giant reset button in there that did not have checks and balances on it. If there was nothing that they understood, they understood checks and balances better than anything else. And so that is why and how we understand how Article 5 can be used. It's not some scary unknown process. History is there, the text of Article 5 governs it, and we know how it will be used. Now let me talk briefly about the Convention of States application that our organization is proposing. It deals with three subject areas, and that's federal fiscal responsibility, federal term limits, and reductions to federal powers. And these three subject matters were arrived at simply by looking at what the American people have problems with in Washington, D.C. Every single one of these areas is areas that has repeatedly polled at supermajority levels among the American people over the last couple decades. If you look at polling, for example, for a balanced budget and other fiscal restraints in the federal government, over the last 20 years, that hovers in the 70 to 80% range among the American people. This is the type of proposal that could be ratified by 3/4 of the states, that could actually meet that very high ratification threshold that's in the Constitution. Term limits. Now, I know a lot of legislators have mixed feelings about the subject of term limits, but the reality is the American people have consistently supported the idea of term limits for the last couple of decades at around 80 to 90%, depending on which poll you look at and how people are feeling about the federal government at a given time. And that needs to be part of a national conversation if we're going to talk about amendments. This process is designed ultimately to represent the American people, and the American people have made it very clear that term limits is something they want to be considered to be imposed on their federal representatives. So that's why that provision is in our application. Reducing federal power. 72% of the American people believe that the federal government is too large and does too much. Over 60% of the American people believe that their state legislatures do a better job than Congress. Now, given what Congress's approval rating is, that may not be as great praise as perhaps it sounds, but it still shows that the people really do trust their states and feel that they're better represented by their states than they are by their federal government. And that is why that problem is in here, because the American people believe that the federal government is trying to do too much, it's trying to impose a one-size-fits-all government on all of the states of this union, instead of allowing Coloradans to be Coloradans, Californians, where I'm from, to be Californians, Texans to be Texans. That is why these three provisions are in the application that we're proposing. Because they enjoy overwhelming support of the American people, because they fit within the structure of what Article 5 is designed to accomplish, which is establishing federalism, getting the states back, exercising a meaningful check on the federal government. And so with that, I'd like to open it up to the committee or anyone in the audience who has questions regarding the process, the procedures, anything related to Article 5 of the Constitution.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. Let's give him a hand. Very thorough explanation. We're going to let the legislators who advise go first since they have microphones. Any questions from the ceremony?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thanks for the presentation. Very incisive, insightful, and helpful. You referred to Professor Nadelson.
Nadelson, yes.
Spell that for me.
Sure.
I'm just reading here.
His name is Professor Robert Nadelson, Nadelson.
Thank you.
All right, any questions?
And let me, if I may, let me just
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
reiterate. Professor Nadelson is the top scholar on the interpretation of Article 5 of our Constitution. He's been cited by the Supreme Court on dozens of occasions. His scholarship has really reinvigorated our look into the history of this provision. The reason we know the procedures at all those historical conventions is because he actually went back, found the original documents, the original records of these conventions, actually looked through them, went through them, and he's documented them in a series of law review articles. So he is unquestionably the top living scholar in the country on this topic.
We have Mr. Baisley first and then Mr. Williams. I'm sorry, Representative Baisley, Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Appreciate the presentation. That's real thorough and wonderfully succinct, by the way. I love the number 3, reduce federal powers there, but that's a pretty broad statement. I wonder, I can think of all kinds of ways that I would want to reduce federal government power, but I wonder if you could give us an idea of what likely would come about in a convention state.
Sure. So again, the reason the topic was selected ultimately is because the American people believe the federal government is too large. And so it's intentionally left broad because that applies regardless of the branch of government. The president is exercising too much power. Congress is exercising too much power. The court system is exercising too much power. So to single out any one of those branches would just be to empower the others at the cost of that branch. And that doesn't actually solve the problem. The states need to be able to propose a holistic solution that restrains the federal government as a body, not just one particular part of the federal government, thus allowing the other parts to sorry, did you have a follow-up? Specific proposals.
Go ahead, Representative Bailey.
Sure, I was just going to say, regarding specific proposals, the sorts of things we'd be looking at, the sorts of things that enjoy support from here, people are restrictions on Congress' power under the Commerce Clause. The Commerce Clause has largely become a rubber stamp for Congress. As long as you put the words interstate commerce in the law, the Supreme Court basically rubber stamps it. Now, we've seen a little bit pulling back on that by the Supreme Court lately, but it'd still be helpful to actually define more clearly what commerce means within the context of the Interstate Commerce Clause. General Welfare Clause has basically been interpreted to mean anything Congress does that's spent on the general welfare of the people of the United States, which, you could argue anything is in the benefit of the general welfare of some segment of the population of the people of the United States. Basically become a blank check. That's basically how we ended up with the approval of the Obamacare decision. It was justified under the Tax and Spending Clause, the General Welfare Clause. So those are the types of areas that could be more clearly defined in our Constitution so that there's actually meaningful enumerated powers on Congress, not just sort of a blank check that the Supreme Court has given them.
All right, I have Representative Williams and Senator Cook and then Senator Clinton.
Thanks.
Williams.
Thank you very much. So my question has to do with the application process from various states. Can you tell us whether or not those applications that are sent for this commission to states, do they have to be verbatim the same? Do the topics have to be similar? How does that all work?
Yeah, so consensus among the legal community is that the topics at least need to be similar. The degree to which that is the case has not been tested. And so verbatim is obviously best because there's just no legal argument that you can't aggregate and count those applications together. But as long as the applications are sufficiently similar, they're clearly addressing the same topic, they should be counted together because it's clear that the states want to meet with regard to that topic. It's pretty much been established just de facto that the applications do have to agree on a subject matter. If otherwise we would have had 34 states, or it wasn't 34 at the time, but 2/3 of the states agreeing on a topic back in the early 1900s, we would have had a convention then. But the states didn't agree on the topic then, so it's pretty clear that the states would have to at least somewhat agree on what the topic is. And the closer they agree, the less legal challenges they're going to be to that. The more ambiguous the connection is between the applications, opens the door to potentially some legal challenges.
Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you get in the weeds just a little bit on who gets appointed as delegates, who appoints them, how many, is it proportional to the states, does everybody have an equal voice, that kind of stuff for me?
Yeah, so again, historical precedent says that the state legislatures would appoint the delegates to the convention. They always have, they're the ones who have ultimately exercised that authority. Now, they could delegate that authority to the governor or some other body, some committee, if they so chose, but the state legislatures ultimately have the authority based on historical practice to do that. As far as how many delegates they can send, there's no limit on that. At one historical convention that was held in Nashville, Tennessee tried to send 100 delegates to try and basically overpower all the other states. And of course, all that ended up happening is each state got one vote, so Tennessee just had to have a really awkward caucus process every time they wanted to cast a vote. It's one state, one vote, so it doesn't really matter how many delegates the state sends, they're not going to be able to dominate the proceedings by doing so.
Senator Lundy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate again very much the presentation, and as we get further into this, the context and the understanding becomes clearer. I'm grateful for the people in the room who care about this, who are spending their time and energy and sacrificing the day to participate in the conversation around this. As a legislator, people come to us and say, hey, Article 5 is the answer. I will tell you, based on the constituencies with which they are connected, some of the people who come to me as a legislator and say Article 5 is the answer are not the kind of limited government individual that I am. And so the big, kind of the elephant in the room question that I think ultimately is solved, resolved, answered, or not answered in the details is how do you prevent this from becoming something that doesn't find us in a circumstance in which we find ourselves worse off following the process than better off following the process from the perspective of someone who thinks these ideas, the limited government aspects of these ideas, are in fact where we are trying to go.
Sure. So there's a couple different answers to that, different pieces to that. One of them is, the second part of Article 5 is about states setting up and exercising meaningful restraints on the federal government. Just the fact that the states showing willingness to do that will cause the federal government to take the states more seriously than they are now. Right now, states are largely treated like regional agencies. Senator Tom Coburn once told me that over 50%, on average, over 50% of the state budgets are actually controlled by federal mandates, which is crazy. When you think that you're electing your state representative, they're actually just doing the will of Washington, D.C. with half of your
Yeah, we
budget.
run $10 billion of federal money through the state in Medicaid.
Well, there you go.
Medicaid.
And so part of it is just using the second part, using the state's amendment process is inherently limiting on federal power because it's the states pulling back on the federal government and exercising a meaningful check. And to some degree, that is going to mean that's going to empower California to be more like California. And California's going to adopt policies that are more liberal. And the state of Colorado is going to have more power to adopt policies here that reflect the makeup of your legislature. So that's going to be the reality of it. That's what federalism means. It means different states get to make different choices based on what their people want. But the other piece of it is just looking at the raw political breakdown. Right? I think we have 32 states where both houses of the legislature are controlled by Republicans. So, you know, if we're going to, from a purely strategic standpoint, as a Republican, as a conservative, it makes more sense to play this game at the state level where we have significantly more control than at the congressional level where we have this. And so you're going to need to get, it's going to be overwhelmingly done by conservatives. The majority of delegates at the convention are going to be conservative delegates because they're going to be appointed by conservative legislatures from 32 states. And so ratification is going to require some people to get on board from at least swing states, from independent states. But the process itself, the states, the way they're aligned right now is very favorable to conservatives and looks to be that way for the foreseeable future.
All right, any other questions from anybody on the dais? Got it, good. What about this seemingly strange assertion I keep hearing from opponents of Article 5 conventions that the original Constitutional Convention was a runaway convention, which seems odd because we came up with a pretty amazing document. And then cutely call it CONCON. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Sure. So the main claim that the Constitutional Convention ran away is based on the claim that Congress called the Constitutional Convention, which is historically inaccurate. Congress did not call the Constitutional Convention. Congress adopted a resolution recommending that the states send delegates to a convention in February of 1787. But months earlier, in September of 1786, Virginia had already issued a call to all of the delegates to meet in Philadelphia and get together and hold a convention. So Virginia actually initiated the process months before Congress ever got involved. In fact, 7 out of the 13 colonies had already appointed delegates to this convention by February when Congress had called the convention. It's interesting, if you look at the text of what Virginia adopted, they said, render the federal, this was a mandate given to the convention, render the federal constitution, meaning system of government, render the federal system of government adequate to the exigencies of the Union, which is an incredibly broad mandate. And part of the reason the mandate was so broad is because this convention was called on the heels of the Annapolis Convention, which was limited to merely addressing commercial concerns. And the states realized they couldn't come to a consensus addressing commercial concerns without also addressing all these other areas where the very weak federal government under the Articles of Confederation was just not able to function appropriately. So they realized they needed a broader mandate, the convention needed to have authority, and of course what they did was propose, right? Keep that in mind. All the convention did was make a recommendation back to the states about what their system of government should be. So even there we see that, even if you say that that convention ran away, all it did was make proposals. If the American people did not ratify it, if the states did not get behind it, it would not have gone anywhere. But of course they did because it was a brilliant document and it served us very well.
Quick follow-up. So it's not like there were more conventions of states. So would you say there's a model established with multiple conventions of states that has already happened in this country?
Yes, absolutely. There have been over 36 multi-state conventions in our country's history. Our founders were very prolific in doing them, as I said before, 11 conventions between 1776 and 1787. But there have been a number, even after, that have met on various topics, such as how to divvy up the water rights to the Colorado River. There was a whole discussion among Colorado included, and a whole bunch of the western states about how we're going to divvy up the rights to this. And it's funny because it proves that the states really can. Oftentimes the federal government will step in and adopt a policy saying, oh, well, the states can't get on the same page about that. Well, history says otherwise. Great example of that is the Colorado River Commission. Another great example is the Uniform Commercial Code. So there's the Uniform Law Commission. It has delegates from every together and proposes model legislation for all the states to adopt so that they can work more closely together. Part of the reason our credit cards work across state lines, part of the reason banking laws work across state lines has nothing to do with the federal government. I mean, the federal government has a role in that, but the states actually all adopted the Uniform Commercial Code, and they're all on the same page about how these transactions are going to be processed, and that allows all this flow of interstate commerce. So the idea that the states somehow can't get together is just belied by history.
And I guess I keep that one more follow-up. Did any of those run away?
No, there has never been a single runaway convention in American history.
Great. Last call for questions from the audience. Anybody? Representative Sopater? All right, very good. So what we'll do, we've got about 15 minutes before legislators absolutely need to take off for the next committee meeting. So if anybody would like to ask some questions from the audience, what we'll have you do is go ahead and come up to this microphone at the end of the table, one at a time. If we have too many people rush to the table, we have to put some other rules in place, but I see at least one person that we all recognize back there. Mr. Temper, if you come up to the dais, please.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, Representative. Turn this on. You can all hear me. Thank you, Representative Sane. I'm Maurice Emmer. I'm co-state director of Convention of States Action in Colorado. My question is, I'm channeling some of the members of the General Assembly who have posed this question to me. We are approached by other Article 5 movements. In particular, Wolfpack has made the rounds in this building within the last year or two and met with many of the legislators. Is there a reason why, leading question, is there a reason why an Article 5 convention called under our resolution, Convention of States resolution, would not result in addressing the agenda that Wolfpack proposes? That is my question.
Sure. So what Wolfpack is proposing is to repeal the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United and basically say that corporations do not get First Amendment protections. They don't have any free speech rights, essentially. You can speak as an individual, but you can't get together with a group, pool your money, and then speak together as a collective entity. So that's what they're advocating for, because that's established by a Supreme Court decision. Essentially, you've either got to, control the majority of the Supreme Court, or you've got to get a constitutional amendment to overturn that. So that's what they're attempting to do. What that would do, effectively, is restrain the American people's First Amendment rights. Now, if we go to the topics under our application, they are impose fiscal responsibility, fiscal restraints on the federal government, term limits on federal officials and members of Congress, and limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. In no way does repealing Citizens United, overturning Citizens United, reducing the American people's free speech rights under the First Amendment, in no way does that fit in any of those categories. That's expanding federal power, expanding federal regulatory power. It's not limiting it, which is what the topic that we proposed would do. So it would not be possible for Wolfpack to get what they want. This is important too, because conventions can be limited. The majority of the historical multi-state conventions, the majority of the 36 have been limited. Those that have been limited have stayed within their limits. Even the Constitutional Convention was limited, albeit with a very broad mandate. But limits are a common process. They've always been enforced when they have existed. There hasn't been an issue with conventions going outside of them. And states can recall their delegates if their delegates do start acting outside the scopes of what they've said, outside the scope either of the call itself or outside of the narrower instructions that your legislature would wish to give them. So there are numerous checks in that process to ensure that something like repealing First Amendment protections, repealing Second Amendment protections, whatever, do not occur under this type of application.
Anyone else from the audience wish to come up? Sir, come up and introduce yourself. And there's a green button on that mic if you want to push that button, that way you can use the mic. I think it's a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Try this one. I think this one's on. Has a green.
Yes, my name is Greg Bishop. I'm a district captain working for Maurice. Many times I've run into the question about runaway conventions, and I come back with a comment that, or a question, how many times since founding has Congress on the record, stood up and said, I propose an amendment to do X, Y, and Z. I talked about it in committee, but officially in the congressional record, and in the Congress, that is how many times have amendments been run away or come from a COS, Convention of States, and the answer is overwhelming. For Congress, it's 11,600 times that they proposed amendments. And there's been zero from Convention of States, and my question is, who in this model is in runaway mode?
Mr. Kelly, you want to take that on?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's important to recognize that a convention has exactly the same power to propose amendments that Congress does each and every day it meets. Instead of being elected by the people, it's going to be elected by the state representatives. It's going to, that's exactly the intentional design, is to give the states as an entity the ability to come together and pull back power from the federal government. So it's the fact, it's a shame, I think, that the states have not used this, have not shown a willingness to use this process. And I think if you were to bring one of the founders here today, and you were to say, hey, we got this, the federal government's got too large, what advice would you give us about how to deal with this? You know, how do we handle this? I think the first thing they would ask is, well, have you used the procedural checks we gave you? Have you used Article 5 to propose amendments to limit the power of the federal government? And the answer would be no. And it would say, well, do that, and then come back to me, and then we can talk about other possible solutions.
Let me continue to enjoy my rest after you've done that.
All right, any other questions from the audience? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah,
We have time.
yes. You go ahead and introduce yourself.
This one? Yep. Is it still on? It is. Yep. I'm Deb Miller. I'm a district captain for House District 60 here. And Mr. Kelly, you've answered this question for me before, and hopefully it won't be redundant for everyone here, but I'd like for you to again explain why a citizen referendum can't work for passing a resolution in a state.
Sure. So this actually came up, this has been litigated quite a bit in a number of cases in the context of term limits. So back in 1995, 1996, there was actually an effort to get term limits proposals through Congress. Congress actually passed legislation imposing that, and the Supreme Court struck it down, saying, oh no, the Constitution doesn't impose that. It's actually unconstitutional to try and pass term limit by legislation. You have to get a constitutional amendment. So that caused term limits. People like, okay, we need a constitutional amendment. We're not going to get past the 2/3 threshold to get that from Congress. 2/3 of Congress isn't going to vote to limit themselves that way. So let's go to the state legislatures. So they started Article 5 limit. And when some state legislatures seemed to be reluctant to do that, they started using the initiative and referendum process in the states to do that. And those efforts were struck down by the Supreme Court because Article 5 of the Constitution says the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states apply for a convention. Not the people by a referendum, not the governor, not anything else. It's the legislatures of the states. And I think that's the right interpretation of the Constitution. Article 5 says the legislatures of the several states. And so because of that, it's the legislatures acting as a body that have to exercise that power. And they do that, obviously, representing their constituents, representing the American people, but the legislators are the actual actors under Article 5.
Thank you. So we need you.
Very good. All right, if there's anyone else, we're going to conclude the session. And let's give it for Mr. Kelly one more time. Thank you all for your patriotism and vigilance.